know what abuse is, do you not? Under the statute, abuse has been defined as being the equivalent of an assault.
No, it's not.
Well, that's what the court said.
The 2098 statute.
Well, you don't know the law. If you think that abuse is a standard...
I've sat through a lot of hearings.
Well, I'm talking about the law. In order to get a restraining order, a plaintiff has to establish facts that are the equivalent of a criminal assault.
There's no facts.
That's not true.
All a woman has to do is walk in and say...
You keep quiet, please.
All a woman has to do is walk in and say, I'm afraid.
That's nonsense.
I expect to differ with you, and if you would like to line up a special hearing, I will line up. I will line up people, and I will also bring affidavits of absolute farcical stories of what the abuse is.
So you want to throw out the whole domestic violence statute because you think that there are some problems with it, and you want to go back 30 years when we had no statutory mechanism for addressing substance abuse.
The issue in
my question is, you want to throw out the domestic violence restraining order statute in its entirety?
We have plenty of laws on the books to solve the problem.
You can't answer that question.
We have plenty of laws on the books to solve the problem without violating men's rights. Please take me a councilor.
I have two questions. One of them was you mentioned that Judge Hanlon was the architect, the judge is the architect of the law. I'm not a lawyer, but I understand the legislature is the architect of the law that are in place. Are you understanding the same thing, or did you mean something else about that?
She has been very, very active with both the legislature and with working groups on domestic violence that have not considered the civil rights of men and fathers, and that the relationship between men and fathers, between fathers and their children, is very, very important. And they've been willing to throw that under the bus.
And I hear your passion, and I have spoken to many, many fathers, and I hear your frustration. What we're trying to get at is figuring out, where everything belongs. And when you say, or you throw out that Judge Hanlon is the architect of the law, that's not true.
She was one of the architects.
So what law was Judge Hanlon the architect of?
I know that she participated in writing some of the guidelines.
Now, the second thing you mentioned, so can I just ask you again, have you been before Judge Hanlon?
Not me personally, but I have with men who did not, because you don't have counsel in this process, even if you're indigent. You don't have counsel. When a woman, this is a very good point that you bring up. A woman has a domestic violence advocate in her police station. She has a domestic violence officer, usually a woman in her police station. She goes to court. They have a domestic violence restraining order manned by women. When she shows up in court for her 10-day hearing, there is a domestic violence advocate, a woman that stands with her. A man, on the other hand, gets thrown out of his house, separated from his children for the first time. He shows up in court probably for the first time in his life, other than for a traffic ticket. He has no representation whatsoever. He goes before the judge and says, and the judge, next case, restraining order issued.
Well, I don't want to, because as Judge Merrigan said, usually there's a little bit more facts, and I want to uncover some of that.
And I talked to 3 men who I've worked with in the Dorchester Court. They were afraid to come.
Well, that's my question for now, but I did specifically ask every father that did call me if you have anything. They were calling against either a father or a Judge Hanlon. Tell me what experience you had with that. And we had one, like Mr. McKay was the first person that had any communication with one of the nominees that could speak specifically of his concerns about, but I had no one else come forward. So that's what I want to hear. What
you have to understand is men are tremendously embarrassed. They've been raised all their lives that you do not hit a woman. It is the most heinous crime in men's circles. Now, granted, there are batterers, and I'm not denying that there are batterers, but there is a very, very small percentage. When you accuse a man of that, he doesn't want to talk. I mean, we're not like women. We
not in women's law, Mr. Patterson, so what we're trying to figure out is what the laws are and how to apply and how Judge Hanlon applies those laws. So I appreciate it.
Well, I guess the difference is, and I'll wrap up with this point, is an advocate is someone who knows, whereas a fanatic is someone who believes. And I think when it comes to domestic violence, and we have too many fanatics, and I think moving the judge to an appellant position would be moving a fanatic there that would block the only recourse that men have from this terrible, terrible law.
Real quick, just make a quick statement here, and then when Judge Hanlon, we give her an opportunity, if you could address it. I am probably the most, and you folks, know I'm a strong advocate for children's rights, and my fellow councilors know that. I'm not suggesting that they are not. Domestic violence, there's no question, is a serious problem in Massachusetts. And I just wish all these judges would realize. I understand what Mr. Patterson and some of these other folks may or may not say today. It's pretty hard when you don't see your child. Never mind 10 days, for 2 days, for 3 days, for 4 days. This is a serious problem. And I know domestic violence. I'm not undermining the domestic violence issue. It's serious. But there is no question. Anyone can go into just about any district court, probate court, and get a restraining order. I mean, I talk to these judges off the record, I talk to attorneys. It's a major problem. I understand where you come from, Mr. Patterson. It's tough out there. And I don't know if these judges here, I know you said you had, we've already confirmed you're a retired judge, but you have 6 kids, grandchildren, and you're proud to say that. But some of these fathers out there who don't see their kids for 2 days, 3 days, you tried it. You tried it. You're sitting in that chair. You tried it. It's pretty damn difficult. I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure this really applies because we don't know basically other than this one gentleman had personal experience with Judge Hanlon. But it's an issue that I am very, very passionate about, and I appreciate you coming here today. Thank you. Next we'll hear from Lawrence Watson.
Who goes first?
I'm sorry?